So the last time I was on this stage, it was 2018. It was the moment when Restoring Vision had announced that they had just helped 10,000 people to see throughout the world. And we used that as a moment to talk about the problem that we're all aware of, which is that 1 billion people on the planet, roughly 15% of the humans living today on the planet, have a vision problem like I do and like many of you do that can be fixed by a simple pair of glasses, often just a simple pair of readers, but they do not have access to an affordable pair, so their vision problem goes untreated for want of a 730-year-old technology that they cannot access. And we talked about how we as a community, when you think of what cause we are most uniquely qualified to contribute to in terms of contributing to the greater good of the world, we said with our expertise and knowledge and connections and all, that this is the problem that we are probably best qualified to contribute to. And that's what we talked about in 2018. Now, this community, which I've been pleased to be a part of for several decades, is a very caring community. I think that's what keeps so many of us in it. We enjoy the fact that culturally and in the DNA of optics and vision is just a lot of heartfelt care. And when I look throughout this group and participants in this conference, I know that many of the groups here are actively involved in philanthropic activities that bring vision to people who wouldn't have it otherwise. And if your logo is not up there, then you aren't doing a good job of getting your press releases out, and I'd advise you to start sending them in to Vision Monday. And here are some of the various groups that the groups on the previous slide are supporting in these efforts to bring vision to those in need. When the history of solving this global public health issue is eventually written, the chapter we are in now will be remembered as the chapter involving collaboration. In the past, there were lots of individual companies, a lot of individual not-for-profits working individually on different aspects of the problem. And now we are in an era where companies and not-for-profits and what's called the multilaterals, the United Nations and the World Bank and the World Health Organization, are all starting to come together and say, we can attack this problem in a bigger way and have far more impact if we all start to work together. And that is what is happening now with a variety of different coalitions that have been forming in the past few years. And collaboration and coalitions are great, but a problem of this size and magnitude is going to cost a lot of money to address. And we're going to be talking about that here. I'd like to thank one site who mentored National Vision in a number of the things that Jackie's going to be taking you through. And I'd also like to point out Kevin Hassey, who's been in this community for a number of decades also, who is the Pied Piper of the cause and the visionary of the solution that you're going to be hearing about here today. I'd like to turn it over to Jackie. I did notice Marge did not have the guts to attempt to give Jackie's title. Jackie is the Senior Vice President of Training, Culture, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Philanthropy at National Vision. We are quite proud that she has the longest title of anyone in the optical world. Jackie.
All right. Thank you, Reade. So today we're going to talk to you about customer giving. And as Reade said, we're trying to fight a global vision crisis. There's 1 billion people on the planet that don't have access to or can't afford a basic pair of eyeglasses. And, you know, it costs money, as Reade said. So when you think about being able to put glasses on close to 1 billion people, plus put in place sustainable efforts to keep that going long after they get that first pair of glasses, that costs a lot of money. And as we sat around and talked about our philanthropic strategy, we knew that we needed to do more. But one organization can only give so much, right? So we said, why not let our customers help us out with that? So we took our insights that we learned from one site, and we decided to start our own customer giving program in the company. So customer giving is essentially this, and everybody in the audience I know has experienced it. You walk into any store where you shop at, and as soon as you go to pay with your credit card, a prompt comes up for you to donate to a charitable cause. So in our case, we're doing that for vision care, and our money goes towards sustainable solutions and putting glasses on people's faces. So when you go into our stores, oops, there we go, all right. You will, when you make a purchase with us, you will see our pin pad. So our test consisted of excruciating reviews of what should we put on this pin pad. So I just want to take a moment to highlight it in a few really important aspects. Again, if you decide that you want to do something like this in your organization, let's change the world. Provide vision screenings and eyeglasses to the optically underserved by donating to the 2020 Quest Foundation. That's our foundation. We're contributing, National Vision is contributing $100,000 to join you in fighting the world's vision crisis. So there's a few really important elements here just to take note of. One, there's a world's vision crisis. Customer, you can help to change the world. This money is going to a foundation. It's not going towards our profits. And by the way, National Vision is contributing $100,000. So we're in there with you. So these are all really important elements as you think about how to convey to the customer that you'll get credit for, obviously, because you want them to feel good about making the donation and the fact that they're donating towards a cause that's worthy and admirable, and that they know where the money is going. And then we also tested the amounts and the type of donation. So we have various tests where we looked at roundup and we looked at different dollar figures. This one came out ahead for us, and that's in our environment. So it may be different in other environments, and I know that you all have probably seen different approaches to this. So we decided to roll with this. The other thing that we did is we introduced the consumer to this concept even before they got to the point of sale where they were actually making the transaction. Throughout the store, there will be in-store signage, and that in-store signage is displayed all throughout, and it conveys compelling visuals, as you see there, the boy with the glasses. It talks about help us provide glasses to 1 billion people who are in need. And then it also says in the fine print there that we're also donating $100,000 that we're with you, customer. So those are displayed through our stores. And then the other thing that we did is we worked with our associates. So our associates got some very simple basic scripts about what to say, because it's not just the pin pad prompt that creates the magic. It's that associate saying, hey, would you like to donate? Here's where the money's going. And if the customer donates, thank you very much. If they don't donate, thank you very much anyway, right? So we don't want to make people feel guilty for not donating. So all that had to be trained, but it's very basic things. All day we've heard about the intersectionality of purpose and associate engagement and customer engagement and how it creates this beautiful harmony. Solving the world's vision crisis is our ultimate thing we try to do at National Vision. It's our higher purpose. We always talk about the fact that if you don't know anything about our philanthropic programs as an associate, know that your company is committed to solving the world's vision crisis. So you don't have to know all the details, just know that. It's an admirable cause. We feel like this is a eradicatable crisis that can be solved in our lifetime. And that's the way we're approaching it as an organization. Higher level bond with internal associates. So what happened with us when we introduced this, it gave a great gateway for us to be able to communicate with our associates about our purpose in the world as a company. Not just to make profits, right? It's to be able to give back to the world and to be able to help people that are in need. And that resonated with our associates. It also gave us a way to introduce to our associates the fact that in this global vision crisis, it's disproportionately affecting historically marginalized groups, women and girls, people of color, people with disabilities, and not a lot of people know that, even though they might have been in the industry for 20 plus years. And it's important that people know that because this is an impact on the community. So we've had people tell us that this is why I came to work here, this is why I stay here, this is why I never want to leave here, because we do these things. And finally, with the customer, well, the customer knows that they're shopping at a place where they're committed to doing good in the world. And that creates customer loyalty. There's a stat that says 3 out of 4 customers care about that the most. 3 out of 4 customers that walk in our doors. And we had some concerns early on. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to get this introduced and to stand up this initiative, right? What's a customer reaction going to be like? You know, are they going to feel like we're just trying to get money from them? Budget customers don't have enough money to donate to causes. It's not going to work. And there's too much going on because we introduced this during COVID, believe it or not. And what we found during our test is that we were able to diffuse every single one of these objections. Yes, it was hard in the sense that we had to stand it up, but it wasn't that hard in terms of what we've gotten in return, which we'll talk about in a second. Customers love it. They love it. They love knowing that we're with them in it. We've gotten great reactions from customers, and our customer data has supported that. Budget customers absolutely do care about giving back in their communities and around the world. And there wasn't too much going on in the retail environment. I mean, as I said, we stood this up during COVID, and there was a lot going on during COVID in our stores, but we still were able to stand it up. So we tested it, and then we made a turnkey. It's now in every one of our locations with the exception of our military division. We did that in a matter of months after we tested it. And right now, our stores average $37 per store per week. That might not sound like a lot, but that's actually $2,000 a year per store. So if you are a chain that has 100 stores, you could raise $200,000 a year if you do this average. If you have a 1,000-store chain, you can earn $2 million, and you can invest it in whatever kind of charitable options that you want in the vision sector, outside the vision sector. You decide. So for us, we launched this as a test last year, and then we launched it nationwide mid-year. So our partial year donations were actually $1.5 million. For 2023 now, we're trending to do $2.5 million. Every single dollar of that goes towards fighting the global vision crisis. And for us, in terms of the different things that we invest in terms of donations, annually that's going to help us to help 1.5 to 2 million people in 1 year. Over 5 years, that's 10 million people. And that's a pretty significant impact just for one organization. Imagine if all of us did that, the impact that that would make. So one of the things we're going to provide to you today, and also at dinner tonight as we see those of you that will be having dinner, is a how-to guide on how to do this if you want to do this in your organization. So it's nice to talk theoretically, but it's also very nice to get a playbook that has step-by-step, how do you do this if you do want to launch it? Restoring Vision has worked collaboratively with us to create this how-to guide, and we'll be providing you a QR code today. They can help you with it, not only with the guide, but also to give you consultation on that. There's a few folks that are in the audience that you can refer to or you may know just from being in the industry. So you see Giant, you see Kevin, Miles, and Pellin are all here in the audience, as well as Amina. So they're here to answer any questions for you. And as far as National Vision, and Reade and I, we'd just love to benchmark and strategize with you. I mean, we love to collaborate. We understand that in order to mitigate this crisis, we all have to work together. And we would love to talk with you about what you're doing, learn from you, share our best practices, because we're all in this together, right? Corporate responsibility in the sector. Wouldn't it be a fantastic thing for us to look back after we retire and say, we accomplished this together, like we eradicated this crisis because of what we did as a sector. So here's my email address. Feel free to contact me. And I'm going to turn it back to Reade.
Thank you, Jackie. I've always subscribed to the belief that where you end up is a function of the questions you ask yourself. Where you end up individually and where you end up organizationally is a function of the questions you ask yourself. And I don't know how you might phrase your own personal questions or organizational questions, but I wouldn't be surprised if at some point in time you phrased it along the lines of how can we be doing work we're proud of, or how can we be doing work that we admire? What sort of things could we do that we could be proud of or admire? Or maybe if you're thinking just a little bit more like you need an insurance policy, what can I do to maximize the chances I could get into heaven? So I'm going to leave you with just a question, one question, and that is, don't your customers deserve a chance to get into heaven too? Thank you all very much.